Hi all, and thank you very much for joining me for episode number 12 of Mantell Associates Network. I am joined today by Terry Novak, who is the CEO of Salubrent, a biologics CDMO startup, which is focusing on gene therapy, cell therapy, sterile, fill and finish, and even more. This is a really exciting thing, so thank you so much for joining us, and I'll get kind of straight into it. You set up the company, Salubrent, straight after COVID. You did it, you started talking about setting it up in July 2020, and then you actually set up the company officially in November. Goes without saying, you're going to be able to give a huge amount of insight to a lot of the listeners in setting up a startup, setting up a CDMO, life during COVID. How have you found everything, and how have you done it all?
It's a whirlwind is an understatement. I'm lucky to have four other gentlemen who are working closely with me to kind of take the bits and pieces that we need. I've been in the CDMO business 20 years. My last stint as president and CEO of Tedder was their small oral solid dose company. But I've always had this thing for the sterile injectables. When in my days of Patheon as the head of North America, we didn't have any sterile facilities in North America. My counterpart who ran Europe had all of those. So I was always jealous because I had very beautiful facilities when I was at DSM in North Carolina. So as we were looking through the marketplace to say, what is the need out there? We did not look and say, oh gosh, COVID, let's jump on the vaccine bandwagon. How can we help fill finish those companies? That's a big undertaking. Those are big facilities, not, no different money though than what we're trying to raise. Yeah. And we looked and we talked to customers, and what customers were telling us is the small biotechs that need, a couple hundred vials to a few thousand vials in a run are waiting 6 to 12 months to find a CDMO that'll put them in their filling slots for that. So the capacity is not there. The demand is intense, and it will continue to be. There are 9,000 sterile injectable projects in development right now. And when you look and break it down, more than half of those are in those early phases. So these companies are going to need this type of service. And the service that we'll provide will be fill finish, including lyophilization, also analytical development, formulation development, method development, stability, all the things you'd associate with a full service sterile CDMO. But we will be using technology that is fully automated, fully robotic, so that your changeover time is very quick.
Wow.
Easy to install in the suites. So we have the business plan. We have we found that we want to duplicate this into four areas of the country. We're going to start in North Carolina. We have a site we're negotiating the letter of intent with. We then want to put 3 more: the Boston area, Bay Area, and the San Diego area. Obvious reasons: large concentration of biotechs and the ability to go after that business. So we're making progress. We're talking to a lot of potential investors. We're trying to raise money in 3 different tranches. $3 million first, which gets me the ability to start our separate standalone analytical service business. So the reason for that is, let's get the company launched with a brand. Let's get potential customers in here doing analytical services, stability, form dev, all those things. I can have that up and running by June of this year. We have the equipment identified. We have a location. We are going to be co-locating with an API manufacturer who also is very technology focused. We'll provide them analytical services on a shared service basis in return for the space, but we have other customers in North Carolina then that will go out and attract for stability, things such as that. So stability, one of the stability chambers is perfect for biologics, which gets us set up again for customers who will do fill finish. So that piece of the business is ramping up. It's getting this first $3 million in the door. But I'm excited. I thought we've purposely not said this is all about vaccines and COVID and pandemic, because it is and it isn't. It's about the 9,000 sterile injectable products out there that biotech folks need to find a home for, so that they can get it quicker to clinic and then eventually quicker to patients. So there's a need. We're trying to convince investors that they should be investing in us because we can be up and running. I forgot to mention, we have an award-winning facility designer, a gentleman named Herman Bosenhart, who is under contract with us, who is doing the design of the facility. We've got 2 companies ready to go with proposals. So as I said, it's a matter of somebody coming in, giving us that first tranche of money, and we can start building the facility.
The thing is, though, it's a really exciting time, and I know that you guys, I know that Shay put us in touch directly, and you've had a large amount of traction and attention on the market from what we've heard. And the name for a company of what is now 5 people, for the name of the business to have come up that many times to us as headhunters is a huge thing, which means that you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And I do firmly believe it's a technology and a robotic part which is making you guys stand out and attractive to potential investors, which is amazing. For something which would be interesting is there will be a lot of people who will be thinking, how have you done this? How have you gone about setting up the organization? How have you done it during this time? It would be great if you could kind of paint a picture of how you've gone about getting investment or getting in touch with the right people, how you've got so well connected, and also some of the challenges that you faced so far as well.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, fortunate to have some good folks. So there's the 3 other individuals who were part of this initial business plan. One is a young investment banker who will be our director of finance. So he's been the guy doing the modeling. 2 other gentlemen were in the CRO business, and they were seeing the same thing I was seeing. And they came up with this, well, why don't we go after this part of the business? Found me, because they had no idea about CDMO business, found me, started talking to me. I got excited and said, all right, I'll be the founding CEO. Then from a whole marketing, and the way we're looking at this is the marketing agency that I've used, Instigator, for 20 years. They have done everything for me. They have rebranded DSM for me, rebranded Patheon, launched Norwich, and all the companies. Very, very exciting people. So they've taken a position in the company as well to be, that's our marketing arm. So, but so what? It's interesting. So how did we start making contact? Well, the one of the CRO folks, Stephen Conley, he has a lot of connections in the CRO business, a lot of connections in some of the early, friends and family office money piece. Myself, given what I've done over my career, including helping my CEO raise $60 million when we started or took over Pernix, I have a lot of connections because, we've been looking to make some acquisitions at my last company. So I'm a regular attendee at JP Morgan, meeting a lot of the bankers. However, you mentioned, what do you run into is most of my contacts invest in revenue generating companies, not pre-revenue companies.
Yeah.
So then it had to be this, okay, how do I find those folks? And again, it was kind of weaving through those contacts that I have that said, hey, let me put you in contact with this. Let me put you in contact with that. We also have a friendly banker at one of the major banks here in North Carolina who has been just tremendous in helping us find those kinds of folks. And he's doing it as a service to his clients. So we're looking at strategics as well. So I went through and said, okay, I know companies who are in the bioprocessing business, the CRO business for biologics, but they're not in the fill finish business. So I reached out to all of those folks through my 20 years in this business and said, hey, any chance of a partnership? You have customers who need fill finish. Every one of them, Alessandro, said, you know what? every one of those customers will say, hey, who should I go to for fill finish? So 3 of them have already signed non-binding letters of intent with us to say, we're going to recommend you primarily to all of our fill finish. So it's been trying to get that now. I know it seems like it sounds early, like, wow, you're 18 months away from being able to do fill finish. Well, if I have non-binding letters of intent and I'm showing those to a potential investor, that makes a big difference. That I can say, I have customers lined up that will come into our facility when it's ready to go. And as I mentioned, we're starting a standalone analytical service business here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, which will be up and running in June. Those customers, we can be supplying, the method development, stability, all those things that they'll need. And again, set them up to be a fill finish customer down the road. So it was a lot of contacts that I've made over the years, taking advantage of contacting them. I was a little surprised that the week of Christmas, I had 5 investor calls.
Wow.
Normally that week, most of those guys are gone.
Yeah.
But I think because everyone's had to work out of home, I think the pandemic helped me in that situation where folks were still working. And we then were able to send the SIMs out, our confidential information memorandums out to a handful of companies. And then this week, now that everyone's back from holiday last week, this week I have 3 or 4 follow-up calls to talk about and answer questions. So this is the telling week for me. It's those guys who got the 25-page SIM and now are going to drill down deeper with me to say, okay, if I give you the 20 million, if I give you the 50 million, I need to know a whole lot more in return. So this is kind of the week I've been losing sleep and holding my breath on what am I going to hear back. We've heard nothing negative in return. Everyone loves the idea, loves the robotic, loves our approach, all the way down to the marketing and sales approach. It's really your pre-revenue. I've had so many tell me a year and a half from now, call me, I'll give you anything you want, which means you can help us jumpstart.
I mean, all of this is absolutely incredible, and it's been a crazy time for you. Being the CEO of what is in effect a startup business, where part of your job is dealing with potential sites you're going to be taking over, part of your job is finding new technologies, part of your job is the marketing, part of your job is the finding investment. How have you personally managed all of this with a global pandemic going on? I mean, crazy.
Tequila.
Yes.
We're organized. That's the best way I can tell you. Every Tuesday morning, I have a call with our team that lasts an hour, and we go down and click. Okay, who's got this? Where are we at with each of these steps? Every Friday morning, we have a funding meeting. Myself, Stephen, who's doing the bulk of the early raise, I'm doing the rest. And then, of course, our finance director. I'm trying to bring a CFO on board. I have someone that worked for me a number of years ago who's very, very interested. I'm trying to get some friends and family money in so that I can at least, give him a little taste while we're doing this. That's kind of my last piece of the puzzle. I'd be comfortable with, moving forward and really, as we get investors who are interested. So it's really been organized. And I have to say, Alessandro, it's a great question, because in the beginning, I'm used to, I've never done a true startup. I've come in and it's like, this business is a mess, you got to fix it. Okay, the way it's a startup, but I have something there, Here, it's so we have our first calls and everyone's talking at once, and there's 10,000 things throwing out there, and it's like time out, prioritize, because there are many things that come up, and we have people throwing, hey, well, what if we went this way? I'm like, no, time out. We stick to the business plan. We do what we have to do, but so organizing it in the beginning to really prioritize what we needed to do to be able to get the teaser together, to be able to get the SIM together, And we were able to do that within a week. Fortunately, I've had a lot of experience doing those things.
That's phenomenal.
Of course, our marketing company helped tremendously in setting it up to make it look very nice. We've had great comments that it's the best looking sim they've ever had, or the best looking teaser. I just want you to tell me it has the best information in it, and you're going to write me a check. But I just say it was ordered. And we still have these calls, the Tuesday morning calls where we get a little bit off track. But I'd say it was just getting everybody set on the priorities, because you can start talking about, oh my gosh, well, when would we put the other 3 sites on board? We've got to get this first site up and running before we can even think about the other sites. Again, unless someone comes and gives you more and says, I want you to put the second one here and I want it to start now. So it was really getting everyone. We had our, I just thought of this. So I never met any of these folks except my marketing person, because I've known him 20 years. So we started this in July. I didn't meet the team personally until a month and a half ago. And we said, let's have a face-to-face meeting in North Carolina, and it's actually where we visited a site that we ended up putting the letter of intent on. Let's meet in North Carolina at the marketing offices. Let's make sure everybody is safe from a COVID point of view. Let's do social distancing. Let's wear masks. And it was the first time that we all met in person. So when you talk about the COVID and the pandemic part, you're doing a startup trying to raise $70 million, and you're trusting me to be the founding CEO, from Steven, who really kind of brainstormed this idea initially, Matt, who's doing the project management part of it, and then Joe, who's the finance director. And they're hearing me on the phone. They see what my background is, but no one ever met. Wow. So that really solidified, I think, the company, where we all went, we're going to have some speed bumps, and it was at that time actually that we decided we need to create a standalone analytical services business. So the brainstorming in person still works better than the Zoom, the Teams. There's just a different dynamic in the room. I mean, it could have been the Krispy Kreme donuts every morning, but
it all has an impact. What I was going to say on this is, you're reminding me a lot of when, obviously, completely different business model, but hey, a startup is a startup. We all go through the same difficulties and different things. For you guys, it's a manufacturing site. For me, it's an office, and like it's different areas. But the startup period demands so much, learning everything from how to manage. For you didn't have to learn as much as me because you're far more experienced. But for me, learning the area of the P&L, learning about getting the terms of business set up, learning about all the background, hiring as well, a massive thing. I mean, working in recruitment, now having to recruit for my own team, completely different. So it's what do you think from a leadership point of view it takes to be able to do that the way that you're doing it successfully, to juggle all of those different things at once, all the different stresses? You've got the money waiting, you've got the company, you've got the people depending, they're trying to persuade a CFO to come for hardly any money. I mean, what do you think that takes from a leader?
Yeah. It's
insanity in some part, but
it is. You hit it on the head. Now you just remind me how difficult it is after you told me everything I'm doing. It's no, obviously it's the basic stuff. It's organization. I would have to say that I've had to focus the team on priorities. I am blessed with having a good team, and I think that's probably the key. I was saying is, if I think about my life in business, and my running some very large companies, also running some very small ones, it really does come down to the team that you surround yourself with. Now, I didn't pick this team though, so this team kind of chose me because they were like, hey, we've got this idea, and we just talked to this one guy at a vaccine company. He said, this is the guy you need to talk to run it. So, we tweaked the business plan, and we did a lot of other things because of my experience. But this one was different because I didn't get to pick the team. So I have a BD ready to go and come on board who's worked for me before. Like I said, I have the CFO who's worked for me before. I brought the marketing person in. So the folks that I had developed great relationships with who trusted me and I trust them. So in the beginning here, Alessandro, it's interesting because it's that first few months I'm like, okay, am I really going to be able to lead these guys who only know me by reputation? And they know, they check me out, did due diligence to say, yeah, okay, we're going to follow him. And then I think what happens is you deliver. So what happens is all of a sudden within the first month of me agreeing to be founding CEO, we have a partnership for analytical services in North Carolina. We have NC Biotech involved. We have a site in an area that I know. We have 4 or 5 investment companies that want to talk. So all of a sudden, those folks go, "Holy crap!"
It's happening.
It's really happening. So I better get my butt in gear, and that's exactly the words I've heard from some of my team to make sure that I'm doing, what he needs us to do. So it then became a matter of breaking it down, because what I started to do was, all right, I got to do all of this. I got to do the financials, the P&L. I got to do this. I got to do that. Realizing, wait a minute, time out. You got 4 guys. So again, broke it down and said, all right, we need the model. We need the financial model. Joe, run with it. What I had to teach everybody, or not teach, tell everybody is, don't come to me with every little thing as you're doing this. I want you to do the model, then give it to me, and then we'll go over questions. Don't do it every step of the way and keep asking me and asking me. You don't have time in the startup, man. I'll be, let's do it all at once. Same with some of this early friends and family raise. When you're going after $3 million, it's a little different story than when you're going for, the 50 million that we need. That's a little different story. So it's a little tweak that we had to make. So, a lot of it's been thinking on your feet, but a lot of it's also been sticking to the business plan. When you're talking to, potential investors, potential strategic partners, it's really sticking to the plan and making sure everyone knows their role, on the build out part, with our facility engineer, Matt. I have Matt saying, I need you to be the key point of contact. Come to me. Like yesterday, we had a call with the potential construction company. I should be involved in that because I want them to know what I need. So we've been able to really, and I want to, this is what's really crazy, is 3 of the 4 people have other jobs. Because again,
Wow.
This is, so, meshing that in to say, okay, I have time to be able to do this. So it's been a lot of late night calls. But everybody is on board with it. And then as you see these little, wins come, oh my gosh, we had 6 investor calls, and they came back and said, we're interested. However, your pre-revenue, talk to us in a year. Or strategic, hey, we're interested. We have a board meeting. We want to talk to you. So, I'm on pins and needles though, just, trying to get the feedback this week and trying to figure out, other ways that we can raise the funds. Like I said, we're getting close. The progress we've made in a short period of time, I think, is showing investors that this business plan is real. If we can, I think one of our key pieces here is let's get the building. We're negotiating the letter of intent, so let's get the building. That way, it's showing, hey, we actually have something. It's not just a letter of intent. All those
some
things.
assets,
some assets, exactly. And then you can play around with the assets. But it's really been getting. This was unique for me in that I didn't get. I inherited the team in a way, but it was just getting everybody prioritized. I mean, it's a long list of priorities, and I can't stress enough these. I always had a Monday morning meeting with my direct reports my whole career. 1 hour. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And I didn't do it any different with the startup because it's probably even more important with everything we have.
Even more important. And something I love about what you've been saying, which is really resonating with me, is the organization, being organized, being structured, keeping everything. When you're running a startup, or starting to get into creating some revenue for the business and talk and having these exciting calls, you're running so much at once that everything can be chaotic. And you can kind of at times, what I've found, you get through a day and you turn around the other day and go, what on earth did I do? Like, because it's more chaotic than ever before. And that is the reality. But by being organized, by being structured, by being aware of everything, and obviously you're juggling people who are in theory part-time, but also double employed because they got another commitment. Hats off to you and everything that you're doing at Salubrent at the moment. I wanted to ask you as well, more focusing on the pharmaceutical industry as a whole and taking everything to do with COVID into perspective. What are some of the most exciting changes that you have seen coming in the pharmaceutical space, or ones that also could be linked to Salubrent, some that you've seen other businesses doing that have been a result maybe of COVID?
I think first of all, the technological advances that companies, I don't think were forced to do, or to look at things that they were already doing, whether it's the messenger RNA or the way they were doing cell and gene therapy. Just the light speed in which we've developed, we've moved in terms of being able to develop those things. And if you think about how quickly we've been able to come up with vaccines, it's never been done in history. Well, now the opportunity, now take that beyond COVID, take that to other disease states, which is tremendously exciting, especially for treating other diseases that are going to need this kind of technology. So to me, that's been amazing. And then also to me, it's further validation of the need for a business like Salubrent for these smaller scale batch runs that these companies are going to need for what diseases they're going to treat. But I'd say the second thing, and it's kind of a bittersweet one. So I would say for the last 8 years, I have been very, very vocal on the offshoring and the amount of pharmaceutical products and our reliance on China or India for excipients and raws. I can't tell you how many talks I've done. And I even went back to notes from 8 years ago to say, look, because I talked to my wife about it. I'm like, look, I've been talking about this. And I guess it's something like this that had to happen to finally draw it into people's attention. I thought it would happen after the heparin issue that happened, the contaminated back 7 years ago in China. But so there was a silver lining here in that all of a sudden people went, holy crap, I can't believe how reliant we are. So Project, Warp Speed or any of the other, the DFC DPA now involvement to try to onshore more products, particularly in the API side, is incredibly important here. And I think that's the one thing that really sticks out to me in everything that happened and what I see. I see great investments from companies in the API business to say, yep, I'm going to expand my API facility here in the States. But then the catch-22 is, the reason for the offshore was pricing. So now what happens is, okay, it is going to be more expensive. Now are there some new technologies? The company that we're partnered with in this analytical lab here in North Carolina is a technology-based API company that does very complicated APIs at at least half of the cost that you can do it offshore. Mm-hmm. So there's a great example. We're partnered with them to do analytical services. So it's happening. And, I think that's one of the things that's really come out of it and that I'm looking forward to is having it not being in China, not being, in India, where we start to get back to not all of it being out
No, completely agree. Completely agree, and it's a positive sign not to rely on other areas as much. You mentioned another positive. I've not heard this answer before, which was about the speed of how they've come up with the COVID-19 vaccine. Here in the UK, we've been fortunate to have it rolled out super quick,
there. Yeah, right.
apparently, which is exciting. And you mentioned it, that could now be used for other diseases. Do you think they're going to do it for other diseases at that speed? Because I thought it was always done slower for the health and safety and everything, but now they've proven they can do it. What do you think will happen?
Yeah, I think, I think the agencies like your agency, our agency, FDA, I think they've looked at this and said, you can do some of these in parallel. Like they're doing the phase 2, phase 3 in parallel. Why not? You're still going to do that. You're still holding them to the same safety requirements, the same efficacy requirements, but it can be done. So I see it changing the CRO industry the way they've been operating. I see it changing the way some of these companies are running their clinical trials. Now, a lot of them got, the one piece of this, I think, that I'm not sure is they also started manufacturing at risk. I mean, they started manufacturing these vaccines when they were in phase 3 for commercial. You rarely see that done. However, they were funded by the government. The government was giving them billions of dollars to go, yep, we're going to let you do that. Will companies do that on their own? Is the one big question in that as well. Maybe, maybe not. But I think, the big change is going to be how the CROs are looking at running the trials, and the sponsors really buying in and the FDA saying, yep, you can run them both in parallel. Again, you're looking for the same outcome. You're looking at the same endpoints. It's just, getting these things out there quicker. But I think the whole messenger RNA technology has been validated in a bigger way now with the 2 vaccines that are out there. Of course, the J&J vaccine is going to be a little different. It's a little bit more, more standard of the way they've done it with using the adenovirus. But I just think it's made people think in a different way. And I'm hoping that translates into the way they're also produced, not just the way they're developed and and clinically tried, but, looking at our stuff that we're going to be able to do and say, this is a great way to work with a CMO using, the smaller batch and robotic technology, which it's out there. There's a couple of companies that are doing this, but it hasn't really, taken a big hold. So we're excited to work with the company who's manufacturing these for in the market. But just I'm excited to get this thing off the ground. The more I talk to people about it, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get this.
We're close, and
I'd like to be closer this week. As I told you, I think I'll get a little closer to knowing at least what maybe investors are going to need from us. Now that I've got a couple calls this week. As I said, we've had some strategics interested, to say, hey, we don't have fill finish, but we have everything else. So why not have us do that? But yeah, we're close, and I think the market's open to it, and we're very excited.
It seems like a great time, based on what you said, for the pharmaceutical industry as a whole. It seems like a great time to see. It seems like a great time for entrepreneurs. I have seen. I mentioned to you off camera that there's going to be some organisations, PE and VC firms, that I'll be able to connect you with, and no doubt they're going to have interest. And it seems like, by the way, more companies are acquiring other businesses like I've ever seen before. More companies are investing into other business. You're around at the right time, and even though there is so much doom and gloom, there is so much positivity. And I want to leave it on one final question, and this is going to be big for a lot of people, which is, what advice would you give to other startup business leaders right now who are in similar shoes to you? Maybe they've just got their investment, maybe they're looking to get investment, maybe they're just starting up and they're sitting in an office like I was sitting in when I first set up, and you've got a light bulb that doesn't work and damp in the corner. What would your advice be to other startup leaders right now?
Don't panic. Take a deep breath. Don't resist the temptation to make changes to your plan just because you had 1, 2, 3, or 4 little bitty comments that you picked up and said, well, yeah, we like that, but this. Believe in the plan. And because I can't tell you how many Tuesday morning calls it was like, well, why don't we, like, wait a minute. We put this plan together. We've got the financial model that supports the plan. We have the market that supports the plan, 9,000 sterile injectables. If you truly put this business plan together and you believed in the marketing data that you brought in there, you believe in the financial data that you put together, don't resist the temptation to kind of go off course too much. You're going to have to put little tweaks in. Let's face it. Someone's going to say, hey, you're going to need more CapEx. Well, maybe, but we think it's, and I found that in the beginning, we get on these calls and everybody was talking at once and, well, let's try this. Well, let's do that. Well, let's start the other one here. And it's really go back to why you put the plan together. There was a belief in this business plan, and stay committed to that. Again, you're going to have some investors give you some feedback that may be major that you got to do a little tweak. But, in the beginning, people wanted to start something. Well, maybe then we shouldn't use, maybe we should go with a bigger, maybe do this, do that. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned. And there's the highs and the lows, you can ask my wife, I'll come out of my office and, walk into the kitchen to have the cocktail before dinner, and she'll look at me and know right away what kind of day it was. But I really think that's the key, Alessandro, is just really truly believe in your plan and resist the temptation when you get one bit of negative feedback from a potential investor or a potential strategic, and don't like right away go, oh my gosh, we're going to have to change that. Step back, take a deep breath and go, well, it was good advice, but our plan still is right. So I think that's the thing I've had to really make sure that I understand and go through is I get the highs and lows. I'll have that, oh man, we're never going to find anybody after that call. And then you just bounce yourself back up because someone else says, wow, we love your idea. We love your experience. We know you. I'm fortunate that in the CMO industry, I've been in it long enough. I've spoken, so folks know my name, which has helped get some credibility to at least get the call, get somebody to talk to you. But I just, it's been a learning experience for me as well.
Yeah. Hey, it's exciting times and it's really, really positive. And I like what you said. Just stay calm, don't panic, and just relax and believe in the plan. And there's that saying, I can't remember, what is it? Make plan A so good that you don't even need a plan B. So don't even think about anything else. So when you've got what I took of the second part of what you're saying is you're so aligned with what it is that you want. Even when people do come along and say, well, I like it, but you need to do this, that's fine, that's your opinion, but we've got our plan, we've got our strategy, we know what we're going to do, and we know it's going to be successful. It's just a matter of time, so don't panic.
Yeah, and I think if you set these, you set these key milestones, and when you hit one of those, celebrate it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, wow. I mean, when I look at what we've accomplished in a short period of time, I'm like, well, yeah, but we don't have the bulk of the money we need. Well, no, we don't, but we've got a partnership with an API company. We have this, we have that, we have this.
Yeah.
We've got a letter of intent, So these key milestones, celebrate them. I mean, no matter how smart they are, but make sure you have a list of what these are, because that's what helps you stay focused, and helps you kind of go, okay, here are our milestones. This is what we're focusing on. And that way, if something comes up over this way, it's like, wait a minute, does that anything to do with the milestones that get us to here, to here, to here? So I think that helps us out. But it's been a learning experience on the way.
My last podcast, episode number 11, was with the CEO of Salubrent Pharma. So a dosage form CDMO, which are based out in Copenhagen. And he said the same thing, Peter. He said these you need to celebrate the small wins.
You do.
And always focus on the little wins and learn to enjoy them, because it might be a while, but look at it and enjoy it in the moment, no matter how small it might be, how big it might be. Make sure you actually enjoy that success. And I listen to what you're saying, and it's two great leaders saying the same thing. So absolutely love it. Hey, Terry, real pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time today. And we will be in touch very, very soon. Thank you.
Look forward to working together. Thank you, Alessandro.
Look forward to working with you. Thank you.